This is my CNC router that I built. It's homemade, my design. Of course, I looked at lots of other routers online and got quite a few ideas before I started cutting metal. That's a DeWalt 1 3/4 horsepower router. I had fun building it. I wanted to build it, but I'm not going to build another one because I want to build guitars. That's what I made the router for. I used ball screws for all 3 axes and linear rails for support bearings. I also used NEMA 23 for stepper motors. Most of the structure is built with a 1/2-inch cast aluminum plate. It's a real stable material that doesn't warp when you cut into it. Expert cable management, of course. Breakout board, stepper drivers, power supply. I need to get rid of that plastic. That didn't work at all. Linux CNC and an old E-machines. That all seems to work just fine. The plastic you see draped all over the place is my fruitless attempt to keep dust off the computer. This is a body blank that mounted up on the machine. I use locating holes so that when I'm through with one side I can flip it over, and it's pretty well indexed to work on the other side. This one I went ahead and cut close to the finish dimension on the bandsaw. Just so much easier on router bits when you don't have to hog so much material out. It takes 4 passes to cut the body out. I think I'm running about 25 inches a minute here, maybe a little faster. That's about all that router can handle with a 1/2-inch cutter in there. Down to the last pass here. The program is written so that the cutter ends up about 5/1000ths of an inch above the work table. If you look close enough, you can see that there was a time when it didn't quite end up 5/1000ths above. That's a 3/8 radius round-over bit with the bearing removed. Just in case there's any differences between the 2 programs, I didn't want that bearing making a mark all the way around the edge of the guitar. I used this cutter on the other side too. That's a little trickier to program because the cutter has to not only follow the outside contours, but it also has to follow the contours left by carving the top of the guitar. Here we're cutting out the control cavity in the back. In this one, the tremolo cavity and the control cavity are just one. They ended up close enough together that there's no point in making two separate cavities. It's a finish pass. It gets cut a little bit deeper right about where this cutter is right now for the switch and the volume and tone control. and I contour that that bottom of that so that the pots mount correctly. It's a carved top guitar, so if I don't contour this also, the control pots and the switch sit on an angle. That doesn't work very well. Cutting pickup pockets. I don't mount those in a pick guard like a regular Stratocaster, so I have to cut each pocket separately. Hogging out the neck pocket. That same cutter gets used a lot on this guitar. If I don't push it too hard, I get quite a bit out of it. About 20 inches a minute when I'm taking this much material. Finish pass on that pocket. I'm using a 1/4 inch down spiral cutter, which leaves a much nicer finished edge, especially compared to that 1/2 inch straight flute you see that I used to cut the pickups out with. Boring the holes for the tone and volume controls using the same cutter in a kind of a spiral down method. That's the jack pocket that I already cut. This is the slot for the 5-position switch. It's another down spiral cutter. It leaves a super clean edge without any splintering. I don't really need it for the top because it gets carved and sanded, but I wanted to try out the bit. Now we're carving the top. This is a kind of a long process. I'm sure as hell not going to put it all on here. That's a 3/4 inch round nose bit. I run at about 60 inches per minute. It's taking a fairly light cut. It only takes a 1/16 of an inch per pass, so it can move pretty fast. Just about finished up, getting towards the top. I don't show the round over on this side. I haven't quite finished the program. It's not refined well enough to use. In the meantime, I just use a hand router. Well, that's it. This blank is pretty well done. I put on a few coats of lacquer to seal the bare wood. This one will get painted red. I may do some other videos, but I'm not sure that I will. This one's primarily for my dirt riding buddies over at Vital MX. There's a couple of them that actually might watch the whole video. We'll see.